Ben Taylor, myself, or a narcissist on this channel to provide awareness about narcissistic abuse. I work with women who are trapped in toxic relationships, or they're trapped mentally outside the relationship and stuck in the healing process because they're never going to get closure from the toxic guy that they're with. If you're new here, you're probably going to have different questions about the toxic relationship you're in, that you're dealing with, the abuse, the manipulation, the gaslighting, the lying, and is the guy a narcissist? Is he not a narcissist? A lot of different questions. And what you have is when you have that cognitive dissonance, that confusion, start dropping questions down below. I'm going to run through and I'm going to answer a bunch of questions tonight. We're going to be live for about 30 minutes or more. And inside of this, it's a time for you to be able to just dump your questions so that we can deal with it, work through it, and help get you clarity. The reason why a lot of times people are overwhelmed and they don't make a move in their world and in their life is simply because they do not have clarity of the situation. If you're overwhelmed, it's typically because of confusion. A lot of times people are overwhelmed because they don't know what to do. They don't know the right direction to make a move. They don't know how to do that. They don't know what's the outcome. It all comes from this place of confusion. A narcissist just has to keep you confused in order to win. He doesn't have to do anything. Like, he doesn't have to control you. He doesn't have to manipulate you. He just has to keep you confused enough that you don't actually pull the plug on the relationship. And if you don't pull the plug on the relationship, he still owns you. He still has a piece of you, and he still has control over you at the same time. Confusion equals control. Narcissist is going to keep you confused over and over and over just to be able to make sure that he's doing and he's getting what he wants from you. So consider, if you're really confused in your relationship, you might be with a toxic person simply because they're not going to give you a straight answer. They're not going to be clear enough with you so that you can actually have closure and move on. You're never going to get closure from the narcissist. It doesn't happen that way. Thank you so much for the help you've given. Glad to help. Can narcissists be just friends, good friends? Typically, no, especially if you've ever had a romantic relationship with this person. Simply because once you've had a romantic relationship, this person doesn't respect you, doesn't care about you, doesn't show any love, honor, respect towards you. And as a result, you're still there to be manipulated, to be used and abused. How can I continue to live life I want without having the narcissist living rent-free in my head? I can't forget a lot of the bad experiences and fear I won't prepare next time I see them when it comes to family. Yeah, 100%. So with that, a lot of it comes down to the programming, the subconscious programming. We oftentimes will reference it as the story that you're telling yourself. You see, if you don't learn how to be able to process the triggers, lower the emotions, work through those pieces, then what's going to happen is the subconscious story that you're telling yourself, the story that's going through your head in the moment, is going to reign true every single time. So as a result, when it goes off, you will automatically be triggered down to the same thing, the same thought process, the same program, the same story. And so in order to be able to work through this, the trigger is showing you, hey, there's an issue, there's a problem here. Let's get underneath it. Let's start figuring out what's underneath the surface of this trigger. And there's going to be a story that you're telling yourself, a thought, an idea. Sometimes it has to do with where you are. Sometimes it has to do with you being good enough. Sometimes it has to do with your worth, your value. If you would have done something different, you would have gotten a different outcome. A lot of times it's an emotional story that doesn't have factual grounding. So when we help you actually work through and figure out what are the facts about your situation, what is the person demonstrating, what is the actual piece that's true, the evidence, that's where we start breaking down some of the stories that you come up with even emotionally. I hate to sound vindictive, but how can I hoover back the narcissist and lure him into the relationship, then discard him to feel how I felt when I was suffering? So Eve, that's a really great question. The biggest piece inside of it is he won't feel how you're suffering, and you're just going to waste your time trying to convince someone or trying to get back at someone instead of just living your life. Like, imagine the time that it's going to take. It could take 2 months. Could take 2 weeks, could take 6 weeks. Inside of that time process, you could have already worked on your healing, but instead you actually regress because you're going to spend so much time trying to get revenge, trying to make someone feel something the way that you feel something when he doesn't even feel the same way you feel about things. Like, he doesn't think the same way that you think. He doesn't process the things the same as you think. So you might think you're going to stick it to him and you're going to give him his due, and he might be like, okay, got what I wanted still, and still moved on. You don't understand how he's thinking, because you're automatically thinking, maybe I can get him to feel what I'm already feeling. If he would have felt that already, he would have already done something different with his life. How can I get rid of him? He is so calculated and blames me for everything. So biggest piece in getting rid of a narcissist is you have to be able to set buffers and start pulling away from this guy. Mentally, emotionally, you have to be able to start pulling away so you can actually be free, mentally and emotionally. Darlene, welcome. I messaged you inside the app actually the other day. Feel free to check that out. Can Confused because as a Christian, hope is something I hang on to for dear life, especially when he goes through a nice phase. So, Lynn, the problem here is not that you're a Christian and is not just this piece of hope. It's that you're unwilling to actually look at the facts. That's it. Because in reality, what's happening is you will hang on to hope for so long, hoping, wondering, thinking that there's going to be potential, hoping that God's going to change his heart, and you're going to ignore the facts that he's simply just not. Like, this is the piece, like, hope is a part of the trauma bond. It leaves you locked in. It leaves you confused. It leaves you stuck. Does that make sense? If not, write another question. Why would a narcissistic man who is 39 ask a 19-year-old girl out? Because he wants that person. Like, a narcissistic man isn't going to care about the age gap, and he's not going to think about it. He doesn't really care. He's just entitled to whoever he's going to be with. Why be in danger once my narcissistic ex finds out I'm suing him? He will have to face deposition. He doesn't like being seen and operates in the shadows. I would be very careful about that. I would make sure that you take the precautions to be safe. Whether it might be a piece once he finds out or once you get him served, that you're in a different place, right? So like, we'll do this sometimes when people either leave or when they file, we'll be like, okay, be out of the house, have the cameras going so you can actually see what does he do? How does he respond, right? Because we want to make sure that you're safe. Why they forget about their children regardless of the age of the children? Because they never cared about the children to start off with. They cared about themselves and they cared about what the kids brought them. So if the kids are out of the life, out of sight, out of mind, kids not actually bringing me, not joy, but bringing me supply or bringing me different pieces that are going to help feed my ego. So therefore, it's kind of like, who cares? Narcissist is only looking at people being in his life as appliances, as people to use and abuse to get what he wants. So even the kids. Would you rather see a tree grow or a knee grow? I'd rather see your comment leave my channel because it's stupid. How can I remove jealousy? I sometimes get from a narcissist, they do well in something and make me feel ashamed for not being able to do the same type of work as they do and blame me for not progressing. So they're going to typically do this because of simply they want to put you down so they feel better about themselves. Okay, so how do I remove jealousy? I can sometimes get from a narcissist. So that jealousy is coming from him. That's not something you can remove. It's like, how do I fix his emotions? You can't. You just work on you, right? And what needs to be worked on with you inside of this cruise is the feeling ashamed, right? Letting someone else dictate your shame, your worth, or your value. That's the piece that has to be worked on. That's the main question here. It's not about how do I remove jealousy from him. You can't do that. That's not on you to do. It's how can I remove the shame from my life so this person can't trigger it? Does he have actual demons, and does he know? I don't think the majority of narcissists have actual demons. I don't think that they need to have an actual demon to be an asshole. I just think they have to be entitled. They have to go after their own carnal desires, and as a result, think that they're the king of the world and continue to live that way. I don't think it has to be this piece where it's possessed by something else. I wasn't, and I made a lot of awful decisions. You started talking about the fact versus hope right when I came in. Thank you. Yes, no, absolutely. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, that's the biggest thing that a lot of times people do not understand and people do not see is the hope will keep you addicted for so long. The potential will keep you addicted for so long. The cognitive dissonance will keep you addicted for so long. The intermittent reinforcement and like the brain chemicals that get kicked off of that will keep you addicted for so long. The facts will set you free. Because sometimes it's your unwillingness to see the facts. Sometimes it's your unwillingness to know the facts. The main piece inside of it is we tell a lot of different people the facts will set you free. Simply because I can look at your truth and you can look at your truth and you can see different perspectives and perceptions about what's going on. But the difference besides your truth and someone else's truth is simply just what's the evidence? What's the facts of your relationship? How is it actually proving or denying that this guy is abusive or manipulative or lying or gaslighting? Because when you start to break down the hope and the potential that this guy has and you start to look at what are the actual facts, I hope he's going to change. I hope God's going to get his heart. I hope my prayers are finally going to work. I hope he's finally going to understand how he hurts me. But if I look at the past 5 years, all of that hope has not come to any fruition of there being any facts to support it. As a result, those that just stick in hope land, like get to the place that they're living in fantasy because they're unwilling to see the facts. And sometimes people are unwilling to see the facts because one, they don't want to bear the weight of it. Because there's a lot of emotion that has to come up with dealing with the fact that this guy doesn't love, care, respect about you. And you can tell that because of his actions. And sometimes people don't want to deal with the facts because it means they actually have to do something about it. Like if you get confronted with the facts that this guy is actually hurting you, that this guy is actually abusing you, that this guy is manipulating and lying and cheating on you, then it requires you to do something about it. Either requires you to sedate and be like, that doesn't actually exist. It's not that big of a deal. It has you make up a story so that you justify staying in this relationship, or it has you do something about it. Sometimes people don't want to look at the facts and they would rather rely on hope to pretend that they're staying in the relationship just so they don't have to actually do something about it, because doing something about it is awkward, is difficult, is scary, is frustrating, is hurtful, is harmful. There's a lot of different pieces that will come up inside of you. And as a result, he's got you exactly where he wants you. Confused, stuck, not doing anything, but staying with him. Does that make sense? Like the facts will set you free, but the problem is majority of people will not look at the facts. They will run all of their emotions and have their emotions run their facts. Emotions cannot run the facts. If emotions run your facts, you will go down a dark hole really fast, because he will be in charge of your emotions. He will manufacture emotions. He will construct different scenarios so that you feel like you're the jealous, the envious, the crazy person. That's his programming. That's his design. We have to get you clear. We have to give you clarity. We have to get you unconfused so you can actually see what's actually real, what's actually going on. All right, what else we got? Does he actually know he has demons, or were you just property to him? Narcissist thinks you're just property to him. Typically, narcissists know that there's something either wrong or different with them, but they're unwilling to acknowledge it because I would have to deal with the shame and the guilt that's inside. My ex in his new supply looks almost exactly like me. Why do you think he picks people like this that resembles? It could be a piece that he's just going after similar or familiar people to him, even if they look the same. A lot of the affair partners that I had all go back to an original girlfriend. Like how she looked, how she acted, personality, hair color, eye color. Like, yeah, there's a lot of similarities. You'll see this with different people who've even had different types of abuse that's happened in their past. Like they'll go through different things where they'll look and they'll fixate on a certain type of person. That could be a piece of it. Do covert narcissists ever feel true joy or contentment when? Typically, no. Narcissist is not going to feel true joy because they're not willing to actually see and have gratitude for other people. How to explain respect in a relationship versus him thinking it's control? Seems narcissistic for him to go there. Seems narcissistic for him to go to control, or him to actually learn to respect. Like he has to be able to learn how to have respect to you, and that comes down to a piece of even being honest about the actions that he's done that's hurt you. Thank you for what you share and for caring. God bless you. Thank you so much. Do narcissists feel grief like other if they lose a parent or a sibling? It depends. I think a lot of narcissists process grief when it comes to loss like that in different ways. A lot of narcissists would compartmentalize, would box it up, would move it to a different place, right? So the more you can actually put that type of grief in a box, then you don't have to deal with it. Sometimes narcissists will do that so they don't have to deal with it. Facts over feeling is key, 100%. Why doesn't he admit he is an asshole and he's a quote-unquote Christian? Because that would break his mask of him being the nice guy, of him being a good guy, right? Like a narcissist isn't going to admit the lie that he has, okay? If there's a lie, so the narcissist says, I didn't do this, and he did, right? He's not ever going to admit that lie, and he's not going to admit it unless there's gain of it, of like, if I admit this lie, then this person will leave me. If I admit this lie, then it'll hurt this person, and then it'll be off me. If I admit this lie, then I can get out of this, and they don't figure out this other lie. They're typically not going to hardly ever admit a lie. Why? Because if I admit the lie that I'm telling you, it releases shame and guilt, and it breaks down the mask. The narcissist is the most obsessed with the mask, with the image, than they are with anything else. So you have to understand a narcissist will go to far lengths to make sure that the mask stays intact. This is one of the biggest things. So he'll work really hard to make sure that he never admits that he's an asshole. He never admits that he lies. He never admits that he cheated. Even though you saw it, he doesn't care. He has to stay true to that, because if he doesn't stay true to that, then all of a sudden he has to actually admit that he's got this shame inside of himself and he can't deal with it. Where does his hope stem from? It stems from this piece that you hope this guy can change or can get better. And oftentimes it stems from the very beginning of the relationship, when you saw the positive and the happy part of the relationship, or the happy part of this guy that was just part of the mask. He's like, how do I get you addicted? Well, let's give you positive, 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 positive. Cool. And then later you're like, but I saw this positive. He must be a good guy. Like a lot of people are like, I know he's a good guy. He just has these bad habits, or he has these bad coping mechanisms, or he was abused as a kid. Who cares? At the end of the day, it's still a choice. And everybody has to understand abuse is always a choice. Stop justifying, stop minimizing, stop explaining away abuse that's happening to you just because you want to justify why you're getting abused. The fact is you're still getting abused. You're still getting manipulated. You're still getting lied to. That's why we have to look at the facts. Is he honestly happy with the new supply? No, because he's going to continue to do the cycle, whether overtly or covertly, but he's not going to be happy with other people simply because he hasn't changed. Nothing has actually shifted or transformed inside of him, so he's always working on just doing the next thing. Going to the next person, starting the next supply, continuing the next relationship. It always is the next person. This is what I work on, actually breaking down and teaching people how to actually get to the facts of the situation, how to break the trauma bond, how to get rid of the triggers so that the guy in your life and the relationship that you're struggling to heal from no longer affects you. You're able to look back in indifference. If you want to learn more about this, you can go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. Opportunity for you to watch a short video of me talking about the healing journey and the growth mindset that I walk every single client through, and an opportunity to fill out a small questionnaire for us to be able to sit down and have a conversation, have a call. Like, let's sit down and talk and be able to build out a step-by-step plan for your healing and help you move forward. I'm always accused of cheating. I can't see that he's doing it to me, so I've taken away deflection, but why does he keep accusing me, like even with his own friends? A lot of times it's a way to degrade and devalue you. A lot of times it's also a way to hide that he's also cheating. A lot of times he wants you to feel bad so that he feels better about himself. He wants you to feel like you're cheating so that he can be justified to even go out and cheat. My ex used to tell me, you belong to me, you are mine. Do they really believe you are their property like an object? Yes, he does. It's the easiest way. A lot of times the narcissist will view you as property, as object, as a lot of times referred to as an appliance, something that's in his life for a period of time, use and abuse. And when he's done with it, well, find another one, okay? Are narcissists hoarders? No, not necessarily. Do you think narcissists can change for themselves? I think the only way a narcissist can have any type of transformation, it has to be for themselves. It can't be for anybody else. Right? Like if I was changing for my wife, it wouldn't have have already blown up, right? Because it's not going to continue happening because love will eventually not be good enough. The infatuation phase will fall short. The person will disappoint. The person will frustrate. Like everything will fall apart eventually. So like my transformation had to be for me. Meaning if she decided to leave me tomorrow, I'd still continue on my journey of transformation. I'd still be healing. I'd still be growing and developing who I am because I want to continue showing up different for me. Not for her, not for anyone else, for me. And yeah, that helps my relationship. That helps other people in my life. But a narcissist cannot change for another person. If he changes for another person, rubber band snaps right back simply because that other person will let him down, will get frustrated, and will eventually come back to the same exact way that he's always been. Transformation can happen to anyone. The difference and the biggest thing that's in the way of anyone's transformation is honesty. Like dealing with the actual truth of the situation, the facts that are going to set you free, like we talked about earlier. Most people don't want to deal with that. That's the biggest thing that's in the way. Let's see where we're at. Why do narcissists say you can't move or leave because you have unfinished business? Sounds like it's another way just to subliminally say that like he still owns you, still controls you. 8-acre divorce domestic violence shelter. Glad your ex got away seeing you admitted never giving her safety on purpose. When will you fully admit your abuser? Are you talking to me? Welcome to the channel. I've admitted like everything, and my wife got away so she could heal. That's why we're together. I've been married 20 years. I just figured out what I'm dealing with. Should I leave? Yeah. Like if you're dealing with someone who's abusive and manipulative and a liar, leave. Like, don't stay in a relationship where there is no honesty. If there's no honesty, you don't have a relationship. If you don't have any foundation, you don't have any grounding of anything. My ex new supply knows he's been cheating on her the whole relationship from day one. Now she sees all the evidence. She's seen all the texts, all the pictures, and she still stays with him. Yeah, because she's already trauma bonded so far, and either he's sold her a story that she's going to believe no matter what, or she doesn't care and she just wants to be with him. Like there's a lot of different pieces that can have. Why does he keep stuff in boxes? If we're talking about boxes like compartmentalization, narcissists do that so that things don't cross over, so they can keep their lies in different boxes, so they can process different things in different boxes, and so they can keep feelings in different boxes. That way they don't show those feelings and don't actually deal with them. I was his new supply before I was discarded for his ex, tried hoovering but failed, caught him physically stalking, he disappeared, think he's gone forever. He's gone as long as you make sure he's gone. Like, he could try to come back anytime. The biggest thing is like you making sure that you're safe, you making sure that you have no contact with him and he can't even interact with you. Why do narcissists send rambling emails, making statements that are demonstrably false? My ex said I met his kids once before I made him move in. It's false and crazy. What's the benefit? It could be a piece of, like, in that scenario, like him spiraling out, could be a piece of him just baiting you so that you actually respond or you interact back with him. I dated a girl, she was doing so much bad stuff, so I looked it up. It's so crazy. So I took the quiz on your website and said I wasn't ready for the call, but a few of my answers have changed in the past few days. It's possible to retake it. 100%. But inside of that, like, I think, Tyler, I think it brought you to a place of jumping in the 7-day challenge. So, like, if it doesn't, like, bring you to a different scenario or a different place, then jump into the 7-day challenge and, like, start working through the process, because there's healing inside of that. And that's why it's all set up that way, because sometimes people are like, hey, I'm not sure if I'm ready yet. Well, that's why we have different levels, different stages to bring people in so they can heal and they can start moving forward step by step. Why does he secretly search his ex online, says his ego, not love? Why does he still do this? It's a piece of control, a piece of, like, wanting in his mind that, like, knowledge is power, of like, oh, I still know what this person's doing, therefore I still have a piece of control. Therefore they still want me. Therefore there's a lot of different mind games that go on even in his own head. After he discards, does he actually believe the narrative he rewrites about a 32-year marriage, or does he know he's deflecting? So, Lenora, one of the things inside of this is he has to believe it to the level so that he doesn't have to admit it. Now, it sounds kind of weird inside of this, okay? So it's a piece of, like, I have to create a lie that I believe so much so that I don't have to deal with the repercussions that is a lie, right? Like, if I'm doing something that is hurtful and abusive, I have to convince myself that that is something that's positive and protecting. And then as a result, I have to believe that it's positive and protecting so that I don't allow abusive and manipulative to step into my world and my sphere, because that would impact my mask. That would bring out guilt and shame, and that would expose what I don't want exposed. So therefore, I'm like, I need to make sure I keep it hidden. That's why narcissist is going to do, and that's why he's typically never going to give you closure, and that's why he's typically never going to be honest with you, because he can't deal with the shame. How can I get him to want to leave? I have cut off most supply. Most supply. So why don't you cut off all supply? Because you're talking about how do I get him to leave, but you're still supplying him with something. So let's talk about that a little bit. What do you suggest to someone who's trying to break up with a narcissist? Do you think breaking up in person is wise or not so much? If not, how else does one break up with a narcissist? I would say typically it's not wise with an emotional and a manipulative liar to break up in person, because typically what's going to happen is he's going to gaslight, confuse you, and switch it back, where you're going to feel bad for even bringing up the fact of leaving or of breaking up. So a lot of times breaking up where you are away from this guy is even better, simply because if you do it in person, I've seen too many people get manipulated back in the moment, back into the whole relationship. Been seeing a man and he's been awesome and shows so much interest, then blocked me. Why? No clue. That's really interesting. That's really weird inside of that. But it also kind of like, he might be really awesome, but he's also blocked you. So that big red flag there. I love to play phone games. Yeah. Narcissists love to play games. And the thing is, many times people are like, how do I beat him at his own game? Like, how do I win? Right? How do I make him feel the way that I feel? How do I make him feel the hurt that I hurt? The thing you have to understand is, like, you can't win playing his game, because he's changing the rules constantly to make sure that he's always the winner. Right? The other day I was we were going for a walk, and my daughter was playing like having us play like tag, and then having us play like we were like racing, and she didn't want to lose. So we'd race and she'd be like, it's the first person to touch this tree, right? And then we run and I touch the tree first, and she'd be like, I meant the last person, right? Like, she wanted to be able to switch it so that she would still win. Narcissists are going to do this inside of like their games that they're playing with you. Right? They're going to be like, well, if you do this, then you win. And then you do that, and they're like, no, that actually means you lost. Right? He's going to be playing like a game, like a board game, like Monopoly. He's going to be playing Monopoly with you, and you make a move, and you're starting to win, and he's going to throw the board and then blame you for moving the pieces. Like, narcissists you're never going to win at the game of narcissism. What you're going to do is you're going to win by stop playing. Like, that's the only way that he gets his supply, is when you continue to engage, when you continue to play. If you stop playing, no supply. Like it changes so much. So when you've started working on yourself, are you able to feel empathy now, or is it still not in there like with most narcissists? There's a lot of narcissists that have empathy, but they're not willing to show it because of what it actually does to themselves. The whole piece of like narcissists have no empathy, even the DSM-5 doesn't fully support that. That's like a fallacy, right? The DSM-5 says lacks empathy, is unwilling to acknowledge and identify with the feelings and needs of others, meaning that there's a decent amount of people that actually have empathy, but they're unwilling. Keyword, unwilling. So I do have a lot of cognitive empathy, for sure. I can understand where a person's at, I can feel and I can empathize and I can hold space for that person. Emotional empathy is coming back more and more based on how much work I do with myself, as far as how I heal who I am and the emotional space that I provide for myself. If I can't create emotional space to deal with my own shame and guilt, I can't do that with my wife. I can't engage with someone else in a deep level simply because I can't work on this. Right? So I have to work on different pieces in my world of shame and guilt so that I can hold that and I can hold space for someone else. It's really difficult. It's really hard. But if I don't do it first for me, it won't work with someone else. If he said it makes him sick to think about me with someone else, why go find someone else and discard? Because he still wanted to keep you trapped mentally, like thinking that you were the only one for him while he was already lining up someone else. Even if you break up on the phone, they twist everything and hurt you anyways. It's better just to go away quietly, 100%. Especially around the holidays, the games get worse. I won by sending him home to his mama. I have had no contact with her. However, she keeps breaking the boundary. Somehow she found out I was in the hospital. She sent me flowers. Did she do this to elicit communication? Yeah, that'd be baiting. Can a narcissist have a healthy relationship? Not unless he's willing to be honest and drop the ego. Like if he's not willing to be honest, nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to get better. My soon-to-be ex-husband of 24 years discarded me for his new supply he was seeing for 3 years. He said he is in love with her, but then he wants to work out our marriage. Do you think he's truly moved on? I think he truly doesn't care about either one of you because he's probably telling you that he's in love with the new supply and he wanted to work on the marriage, which means he wants to have his cake and eat it too, because he probably hasn't actually blocked this other person or gone no contact with this person that he's seeing for 3 years and magically in love with. But you're like, but he wants to work on it. No, that's called he's leading you on. That's all it is. Why they purposely withhold everything you tell them that you need? Because that's the one way to control you. You're like, don't do this to me. And he does that to you. Why? Because he now knows exactly how to control you. What happened in childhood for you to become a narcissist? The biggest piece I've tracked it back to has been different aspects of disconnection from the primary caregiver and emotional neglect, as far as like not having space and area with my parents, with my family to be able to process and deal with emotions, specifically shame and guilt, and working in through all those things. Not because my parents were narcissists or toxic, but because they didn't even have some of those tools. That wasn't even a thing that they were focused on back then either. Do you experience cognitive rigidity? I am not sure. I don't have any baseline for that, so I don't even know what you're talking about. Rigidity refers to the difficulty a person has in adapting their thoughts and behaviors to new information or situations, essentially meaning they struggle to switch between different ways of thinking. It's the opposite of cognitive flexibility, which is the ability to readily adjust one's mental processes. This can manifest in various ways, such as clinging to established beliefs, even when faced with contradictory evidence or struggling to consider different perspectives. Inability to adapt to new demands or information. I would say I don't struggle with cognitive rigidity. Not now, at least. In the past, yeah, I could definitely see that. Like, I'm always right. I have to do this a certain way. Like, yeah, I could definitely see that in the past. But as far as like everything that I've seen now, and a big process inside of what I do and what I also teach is called stacking, which is the mental reframing, rewiring of a person's thoughts. And so it's actually teaching how to be able to look at a thought and be like, is this actually true, right? We talked about this earlier. The facts will set you free. You have to look at the facts. We'll look at what's the story I'm telling myself? What are the facts that support it? Do they support or deny that story? What do I actually need to believe? It's helping shift. It's helping have this flexibility. It's a great question. How do I not become a narcissist? If you're asking how to not become one, you might not already be one simply because it comes from early childhood and then is prevalent throughout as you continue to grow. So if you're like, hey, I already am a narcissist, that's a whole nother question. We'd love to talk to you. You can go to rawmotivations.com. There's a breakthrough call for men. We could talk. But if you're like, hey, I've been with a narcissist, so I'm afraid of becoming a narcissist, that's not possible and that's not going to happen. You might get narcissistic fleas or different traits or aspects that you use as a survival mechanism being with an abusive person. I've been working for a job for close to 10 years now, but I see that I'm starting to hate my job now. But I tolerate it because of the pain, but it's not that much, but I'm afraid of stepping down. Why don't you start doing, working on your resume and looking for new jobs and starting to interview? Do you have kids? Yes, we have 2. What's the first sign in a new relationship of a possible narcissist? I would say not respecting boundaries, being told no, and them like not handling that well. You could have entitlement. You could have a lack of being able to put themselves in another person's shoes. There's a lot of different ones. And I have a lot of different videos on like boundaries or like even like early signs. How do you work through your shame and guilt when you feel it now? A lot of times I'll stack it. So I'll work through expressing what are the facts about what I'm actually feeling in the moment. Like what's happening? Where's the shame coming from? Where's the trigger? How do I feel about it? What emotions are coming up as I'm dealing with the shame or the guilt? And then what has been my focus that produces that shame? Right? Like there's different aspects of what I believe, what I think, right? So there's different pieces. I even wrote about different pieces of shame this morning inside of a stack that I was doing, working on like something that has shifted inside of our world and our life that we're not looking at or we're not being able to participate in. And my wife expressed her frustration and her sadness about it. But what I heard is I'm not good enough. I'm not providing enough. I'm not showing up enough, right? That is a piece of shame. So I have to actually look at it and be like, okay, what are the facts around that? Am I doing this? Am I providing this? Am I showing up this? And I'm like, okay, the facts show that I am. Life is different now. There's different challenges, the different pieces that are outside of some of our control. So I'm like, am I doing what I said I was going to do? Yes. Is it producing the results I actually want in this moment? No. Does that mean that I'm an awful person? No, right? But so I have to actually look at the story that shame is telling you. And everyone has to do this, right? If you don't look at the story that you're telling yourself, the narcissist manipulates it and you start believing and you're the one that leaves yourself trapped in the relationship, not even him. Simply because you're telling yourself a lie. You're telling yourself a story. This is what I work with every single client, because if we don't get you clear to be honest with yourself about the story that you're telling yourself, the subconscious programming will override everything and you'll still be stuck with this guy. If you want to know more about how I work with people inside of this, you can go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough, because there might be a couple of things you'll see inside the video that you're doing that's actually still leaving you trapped and stuck in the relationship right now. I think my ex-husband is treating our children bad because they remind him of me. That could be a high possibility, or it could be a way to just be able to trigger and poke at you. What was the moment of clarity you had to lead you to make a positive change? I didn't have one. You can listen to my whole story on my podcast, Real and Raw with Ben Taylor, and there's one in there that says my origin story. Walks you through a lot of different individual steps because I didn't have one giant piece of like aha moment. Thank you for being honest now, but it's better to understand. Can you talk about, you're welcome. Can you talk about narcissistic collapse and what they do when they refuse to leave you alone and what will work best, or are you just screwed until you find someone else? Trish, you're not screwed till you find someone else. You're screwed till you heal. Like, you have to understand, like, if you don't heal, then it doesn't matter. You could go to a healthy relationship and you'd still blow it up simply because you don't even know what peace feels like. You don't even know what freedom feels like. And if you feel like that, if you get to another relationship where you still haven't healed, you'll be still triggered. You'll still get frustrated. You'll still like spiral out in different ways, and you'll probably still ruin the relationship, because I've seen it happen. Inside of it, when we deal with narcissistic collapse oftentimes can be different pieces of the mask completely shattering or breaking or dropping, or places of exposure. I personally don't think there's a ton of narcissistic injury and narcissistic collapse as much as what people want to say there is. A lot of times people ask about it, but I'm like, I haven't seen it. I haven't really dealt with it a lot. I haven't really seen it in a lot of different people that I've worked with either. It's a living nightmare, 30 years. Finally blocked them because every communication has high likelihood to upset me or infuriate me. It took me 3 years of separation to make the move. It's already helped me 100%. Can you explain the stacking you teach? Yeah, it's a piece where we, Darlene, you're inside one of our challenges. You already are stacking. And if you're not, I messaged you inside the app to be able to check to see how you were doing inside of it. Because I see your name and I was like, you're in Survivor to Thriver. You should be stacking already. Did you ever use flying monkeys to acquire information? Yes. Ex-husband is now with a new woman who is now pregnant. I'm worried for the kids that we've had. Yeah, a lot of times he's going to use and abuse the people that are in between you as well. When you come from a family of narcissists, how do I not repeat? work on you. Like, it's a big piece of like diving into like how you actually show up, how you actually start to adjust the story that you're telling yourself, like the internal subconscious program. Like, a big piece of it has been investing the time, money, energy into me. Right, over the past 5 years, like, I've spent over $150,000. I've spent like countless hours working on myself. I've spent weekly therapy over the past going on 5 years. Like, we're talking a lot of time to make sure that I shift who I actually am. When we're talking about this piece of like not repeating stuff, like generational stuff, well, you have to be able to take a look at like, what are the traits that you have? How do you start working on them so you don't show up that way? What motivated you to change? Realizing that nothing else was going to be different unless I changed, right? I was going to keep living the same old life, same Groundhog Day with different people, but nothing was actually going to shift until I shift. Cognitive rigidity might be the same as optional defiance disorder. I commend you for being honest and also for helping others. I appreciate it. When you're in an argument, why does the person bring up the past argument that has nothing to do with the current argument? Because it's triggering, and because they know that they've either won that argument or it's a piece that they can use to spiral you out so they get you off track. It's a distraction, deflection tool. It's a way to try to figure out how to degrade you. If they won that argument in the past, it's a great argument to bring up for the narcissist, because like, let me bring up this. Oftentimes that's called the straw man tactic. It's like, let me bring something else up that has nothing to do about what we're talking about, but I can easily defeat this. Boom, defeat it. Ha, see, your original argument doesn't even make sense because I just defeated the smaller argument that has nothing to do with it. But a narcissist will do this to confuse you and also make sure he's still winning, even though it doesn't even make sense, but that's how it is. Can you actually love a human being, or is it based on faking? No, I can actually love a human being. It has to do with lowering the ego. If the ego is not lowered, then I can't love. Ego is like a wall to a narcissist. So shame and guilt, but like, ego is like a wall. So like, if someone's on the other side of a wall, I can't give them a hug, right? But if I start lowering the ego, the entitlement of it being all about me, start showing gratitude, appreciation, respect, love for other people, then that shifts a lot of different things. Interesting, you've gained a new follower. Appreciate it. Is there a way to make a narcissist understand the hurt they cause? No, there's not. Because that's you trying to think that he thinks the same as you. You're like, well, this is how I would hurt if this happened to me, or this is how he hurt me, et cetera, et cetera. You're trying to recreate it for him. And instead, focus on your healing, right? Because you're gonna waste so much time trying to figure out, how can I give him the same hurt? How can I have him understand? How can I have him feel this? How can you heal? Healing and you get to a place of being indifferent, that would probably be the closest way. Left my husband 2 years ago, lived with my mom, had 5 different jobs since 2020. He refused to get one and take care of our 2 kids. Every time I work, he harasses me and won't leave me alone. Yeah, because he doesn't want you to work. That way you either go back to him, or that way you stay stuck with him. Doctor Who said the same thing. Said the same thing of what? Why would you... my ex... Oh, that's just because we have someone spamming in here. All right. My ex left me for a woman he was cheating on me with and gave her my home, etc. Months later, he throws her out thereof and always makes time to talk to me, etc. Even looks at my Facebook. So with that, it just sounds like he's like jerking you around. Does a narcissist know they're a narcissist? They don't know the label, but they know that something's different with them. With fake profiles, now people contact me sexually. A lot of times narcissists will do different fake profiles to just interact with you. Can narcissists become self-aware and heal like they did? Anyone can. It has to do with their willingness to be honest and actually work through the stuff inside. Anybody can heal. Anybody can transform. How do you talk with a narcissist father who never missed their wrong and they keep gaslighting or lying that you're the wrong one and they're not? Sometimes it feels like I'm talking to a wall. So Vanessa, with that, you're going to be doing like gray rocking. You're going to be sticking really tight to boundaries. Because at the end of the day, like, it's not going to do any good to try to convince him. We just need to live your truth. But won't they leave? Oftentimes they don't have to. That's a big piece. Until the narcissist finds someone else to latch onto for the new supply. Are you screwed until the narcissist finds someone else to latch onto for the new supply instead of leaving you alone? Now, you can block, ghost, go no contact, change your phone number, file a restraining order. There's a lot of things you can do to be able to make sure that you're safe and moving forward. Why do you still identify as a narcissist? I still talk about narcissism, and I still say I'm a narcissist so people actually understand my past and who I was and how I showed up. Why they purposely withhold what they know you need? Because that's the one thing that they can do to control you. My husband and I built the home together. He refuses to put my name and the child's name in the will despite promising. Can I get him to keep his promise? No. I don't see how there's any way that you can get him to keep his promise. Like, you'd have to find a way to be able to manipulate the conversation so he feels like it's in his best interest and it looks like he's doing himself a favor and it looks better for his image. That's the only way you're probably going to ever get that. Otherwise, you're not, because he doesn't care. That's the biggest thing. Are you experiencing an unusually high volume of supply at the moment? No. You don't deserve it if he doesn't want to give it to you. Just use your brain and think. Not exactly the way I'd say it, but okay. I'm getting the wording confused with your program. No, we use stacking. That's in like benchmark 3. Darlene, reach back out to me into the app. Like, if you're confused inside there, we need to get you caught up. We need to get you moving. It's like, the stack is a piece of the whole program. That answer is subjective. So is that comment, because I have no clue what that comment was going to. They don't want you to rely on them. They want you to do everything on your own. They don't care enough to put in the effort to do what they need 100%. Does the ego come from our attachment style? His ego? What do you mean? Does the ego come from our attachment style? No, I wouldn't say it'd come from like your attachment style. Look What You Made Me Do by Taylor Swift, yeah. What's the biggest sign of narcissism? Unwilling to be wrong, or like unwilling to be told no. Let's see. Do you think you're still one, or are you healed? I would say one is a narcissist, not a narcissist. I would say when they stop exhibiting the 9 traits. When they stop exhibiting those. I don't exhibit those. It's not something that's a part of my life on an everyday basis at all. There's a way to know if they truly love you. Their actions. What are they demonstrating? How do I get a narcissist to stop taking me to court? Document everything and keep winning in court. How to help children heal from narcissism, provide emotionally safe space, be the consistent and solid parent, and first and foremost, heal yourself. Because a person that is unhealed can't help heal their kids. Thank you, whoever sent that. I haven't got down to the comments, so I don't know who sent that. Thank you. It says T, so it might have been someone with a T. Trish, appreciate it. Thank you. My bestie continues to fall in love with narcissists. Obviously, no shame is on her, and some of it's her trauma and patterns, but what would you say is the best advice for her to leave them? I don't understand it. So if she doesn't understand what she's doing and she doesn't see the cycle, it won't do anything. Like, you can't force her to be able to heal, force her to be able to see it. Like, and start sending her content. Start sending her things to help her wake up to the reality that she's in a toxic relationship. Saw my ex, he asked me out, went out and was treated nicely, then ghosted. Saw him again a few months later, kissed me on the cheek and said, I'll call you. Why did he say this is a game? Yes, it's a game, and you're playing it. How do you help children heal from a narcissistic parent? We just answered this. Ex-narc left me and daughter to go move to another country to live with pregnancy supply. How could he do that to his own daughter? Because he doesn't care. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about your daughter. That's the hardest words you're going to hear me say inside of this, but I need you to hear it because he hasn't shown up caring for you. He already moved away for the new supply. Why would he care about the kid? Like, you think he's going to care about the kid because you have this intrinsic like value and worth for another human being, especially your daughter. He doesn't have that. That's not a piece that's activated. He's not like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I hurt my daughter. He's like, she's not doing anything for me, so why should I care? My son, who's a teenager, has become a narcissist thanks to my husband. That's the stepdad. I was about to commit suicide because of how they treat me. I've been healing. How can I help my son? So healing and working through your emotions, providing space for his emotions, helping him deal with shame and guilt, because that's one of the biggest underlying factors inside of narcissistic abuse. If the narcissist moved on, they don't want you, why did they stalk you? It's still power and control. It's still being able to trigger you, still be able to like push you and move you. Appreciate you offering help. Your thoughts out for this. For you, what was the biggest thing that helped you start the process of getting help? I know it can be hard for a narcissist to seek help. The biggest thing was understanding, one, that I was a liar, like internally, like lying to myself, not to other people. I knew I lied to other people, I didn't care, but lying to myself. The second thing was knowing that if I didn't change, nothing was going to change. And the third thing was my wife leaving. The ex dumped 2.5 years ago is reported to laughing at me that I am alone, which is fine. I don't have to talk to him. I'm wondering if this is a step to being left alone. I hope so. Possibly. I can't understand it because the one time I was in love with someone who was a narcissist, I learned and healed, and I'm worried about her for some context. Yeah. Just walked away 2 days ago, but I work for him. How do I handle this? I mean, keep working for him, but end the personal relationship. Long term, you're probably not gonna be able to work for him. Like, it'd be nice, but I guarantee you he's not gonna leave it just at a working relationship and be able to be cordial. How do you deal with living with a narcissist who gets mad when you ignore them and stand up to them? Long term, you don't, because you're gonna still be around this toxic person 24/7 that's gonna trigger you. Are you sociopathic? No. I find it confusing because how can a narcissist really seek help if they never admit they're wrong? First step to help is honesty and vulnerability, which lacks in narcissists to avoid being wrong. Honesty and vulnerability is possible for anyone. It's not one of the 9 diagnostic traits that a narcissist is not or cannot be honest, right? It's just a piece that people normally think that's attached to it 100%. Can I advertise in your big forehead? No, but I can delete your comment and get rid of you on my live because you're not here to heal. Do narcissists genuinely love their kids? No, they love what the kids give them. This is my bestie's like 4th narcissist relationship, but that's why I want to help her because she deserves the world. So understand that you can spend a lot of time trying to help someone, and if they don't actually want the help, it's not going to do anything. They have to wake up to the reality of what they're dealing with. You can't force her to heal. You can send her a lot of content, you can send her a lot of things to help wake her up, but if she's not willing to see it, it won't matter. Will narcissists stay with the pregnancy supply in the new country, or is it just another game to him? Could be another game. You never know. I would go no contact, block, ghost, like have it so that he can't come back to you. Why does all of a sudden my ex-narcissistic partner become religious? Say God changed me, really sees reality when he was horrible to me the whole year. What was last year? Now he's a changed man. That's his quote unquote come to God moment. But typically those are just false because the narcissistic stuff doesn't change overnight. Like, I don't know anyone that could just magically shift it overnight. Does God need to be a part of the healing? I think so, but so does therapy. Is he in therapy? Or is he just a changed man? Now he doesn't need therapy. Now he doesn't need to work on himself. Yeah, that's where it's BS. Covert narcissism can be debilitating. You're a recipient of it, but nobody will buy your side of it 100%. It's very hard. That's why a lot of what we do inside of Raw Motivations is get you into communities and get you into groups of people that have already walked through this, that have already healed from it, that are walking through it. That way you can see other women that have actually risen up, right? Like being able to be around other people that understand it, that get it, and they're not sitting in victimhood, but are continuing to grow and develop themselves. That's one of the biggest things we can do. That's why if this resonates with you, go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. Just an opportunity for you to watch a quick video, fill out a quick application, book a call with me. It's free for you to be able to book a call, for us to be able to sit down and talk, build a process, build a step-by-step guide inside the healing process. Because some of you have to get around other women that actually are healing from this or have already healed. Because if you don't, you'll stay in isolation. If you stay in isolation, you'll stay in confusion. If you stay in confusion, you won't make a move. You'll stay stuck and you won't heal. Do narcissists sometimes lie to themselves so much to the point of psychosis? Yes. After they have contact with a narcissistic parent and you see the side effects, do you address the change if it's negative? I guess we're talking about the kids. Yeah, as best you can, right, without bad-mouthing the parent. Muslim narcissist, I only told her once. Do you think there's any use in trying to make her understand? Not about narcissism, but about like the traits that you're seeing. There's narcissism from trauma. Different pieces of it can be from that for sure. I had a passion and she blocked and shut down every opportunity. Now I feel like creativity is drained. Rarely participate in my passion. What do I do? Start engaging it in small aspects. Start working on healing so this person no longer affects you, so you can actually focus on rediscovering you. Before marriage, even if it took time off, he kept coming back. Now for 25 years, we're divorced. Now nothing, communication, or does he even try? What do you think he's thinking? He's not thinking anything about you and he's moved on. So the question is, when will you start focusing on your healing? Because that's a lot of time, 25 years. We have to help you process that, release it so you can actually focus on you, because he's not focusing on you. He's not caring about you. He already moved on, or just compartmentalize it so he can move on with the next person. The biggest thing is you being able to heal. If I've established no contact and they break boundary, am I required to send a thank you note card? No. Like, burn it, like, throw it away. I think in today's world, the world is thrown around too much, honestly, but yes, very real and sort of sad. Are you talking about narcissism? Yeah, 100%. Professional esports player, coach, one of the best in the world. I love the idea of destroying the teams. Like, I want to see them kind of sleep. Am I a narcissist? There's a lot more traits than that, and that's not part of the 9 traits. So I would say take a look at the DSM-5. I've got a couple videos on that, or the 9 narcissistic traits. Do you have kids? Yes, we have 2. Is he different than for the new supply? No, because he hasn't worked on himself. He hasn't been honest. He hasn't worked on changing who he is. He might show up different in a different way, but he's still going to be manipulative, abusive, and a liar. How to get a narcissist to confess that you cheated. You can't. You're not going to be able to force him because a lot of times, even if you had proof, he wouldn't admit it. So he can keep you confused, so he can keep you stuck. Why do narcissists do the same thing over and over, even if they have different partners? Because a lot of times they're not very creative, and it's easy to use the same game plan if it works. Would I be wrong for fighting for full custody of my children to avoid them growing up with a narcissistic father, or should he be given a chance? If he's a narcissistic father, I wouldn't give him a chance, and I would try to go for full custody. The hard part is typically he won't want to give full custody because that means he'll have to pay more child support, or he'll look like a bad dad because he doesn't have his kids at all. That's the two biggest things inside the custody battle you have to watch out for, and you have to figure out how can you leverage image and money. It's two biggest things that oftentimes narcissist cares about. Are you proud of it, or are you trying to change? You must be new here because I've been working on myself for several years, and this channel is helping other people heal by my own healing journey. Is the behavior of spinning fault on your characteristic of a narcissist and can't take blame? Is the behavior of spinning fault on you characteristic of a narcissist? Oftentimes that's what a narcissist will do. It's not necessarily defining of a narcissist, but oftentimes narcissists will run away from any type of shame or blame. What is the purpose and what is the reason for someone with NPD to not consider the other partner's feelings? So he doesn't have to deal with his own feelings. It's mainly an avoidance piece. Like, I don't want to deal with my wife's feelings of shame because I haven't dealt with my own feelings of shame, right? I can't hold space for someone else until I learn how to hold space for myself. So inside of that, like, the narcissist doesn't want to deal with it. Like, dealing with other person's feelings is an inconvenience. Are you saying you're a narcissist? That's literally the title of this live. So welcome to the channel. Signing off for bed. This has been a good question. Not something he'll see every day, but at night. How can you get a narcissist to stop passive-aggressive behavior when co-parenting? They just don't stop, always compete and win. One, you're not co-parenting. You're parallel parenting. Look up the difference because you need to be able to see and understand the difference between the two. Two, use the BIF method, brief, informative, friendly, and firm. Three, use the copy-paste method, which is if he's trying to step out of the bounds of what he's already agreed to or the co-parenting agreement, whatever it might be, like if he's trying to step out of side of that, use the copy-paste, which is like, hey, this is the text that we agreed on, so here it is. Thanks, but no thanks. Here's what we agreed on. You have to like retrain them like a dog. What is life like for the older narcissist, late 6? He was the charmer, drinker, those life of the party, lost 2 serious relationship. Oftentimes it's going to get more lonely and he's going to like not care about how rude or abusive he is. Can you believe some people are actually expecting real talk from a narcissist? You must be new here too. Would you agree that there are an equal ratio of female and male narcissists? No, I think there's a higher ratio of male narcissists and there's a higher female BPD, which are very similar in a toxic state. Could this condition be considered generic? Some people think so. Why is my ex-sociopathic husband expressed with gaslighting me? You really can't prove narcissistic sociopath behavior in court visitation. Yeah, you can't. He's trying to gaslight you to be able to keep you confused, keep you stuck, keep you oscillating, whatever it might be. How do you know when a narcissist is truly changed? Long-term behavior, honesty, and vulnerability. How do you set boundaries with a narcissist? You decide what boundaries you want for you, and you establish those for everybody, not just with a narcissist. If you're creating boundaries for a narcissist, for a toxic person, then you're creating them wrong because you're building them for rules or regulations for another person, not for vision and values of who you are. So the difference is you not saying to a narcissist, hey, you're not allowed to cheat on me, right? You're saying, hey, I'm not going to be with a cheater. Completely different, but that's on you. Right? That's what boundaries are for. Oftentimes people are like, boundaries are rules and regulations, something I'm putting on other people, and oh, you didn't respect it. Well, no, you didn't respect yourself enough to be able to hold a boundary, which meant you should have had some different consequence that would have happened inside of it. Meaning, hey, if I'm going to be with a loyal person, I don't want to be with a cheater and he cheats on me, that means you leave. Right? But there has to be that piece you understand it's not to control him, it's to be able to actually show you the direction, the guidance you want to go down to. Do you ever really love someone or are people just supplies for you? I love my wife, I love my family. And that's because of all the work that I've been doing because I didn't show that and I didn't act like that before at all. Come up with a new edition of asking, why do you love me? If I were a toaster in a store, how much would you pay for me? Would you buy a different toaster? That's awesome. They fail again. Even if you retrain them like a dog, they fail. The point is not whether they fail or not. The point is that you stay consistent so you actually control your emotions and be able to heal. How do you get over the regret of the opportunity I lost? Lost a business and contract worth $80K now. While at work, I'm constantly thinking of it. So you have to be able to let go of what you lost and start looking forward to what you can actually gain because loss is just comparison and loss is having you think that long-term that you're a loser, right? At the end of the day, like when you're looking at loss, like a big thing inside of it is like that was a growth period. That was for you to be able to understand how not to do that. What did you learn from that? If you didn't learn anything from it, then yeah, it was a complete loss. If you learned something from it, then it's not a complete loss. How do you behave when interacting with a narcissist while visiting them for your child? Start figuring out how you can visit the child without them, because otherwise it's just going to continue to be triggering. How do I forgive myself? I need 2 years ago. I had 2 Jaguars, one of them a sports car. I gave my friend Robert the keys. So if you're looking at forgive yourself, then you should go in. What is it? You should go and you should go buy. What's it called? The book is called The Little Book of Forgiveness. You can get it off Amazon. It's a small black book, but it's really good. And that would be exactly what you need as far as when you're trying to think through how to forgive yourself. A lot of times people are thinking forgiveness is a feeling. It's not. Sometimes people think that forgiveness is reconciliation. It's not. Sometimes people think forgiveness is forgetting. It's not. A lot of times it's dealing and processing and getting rid of the emotional hold that that person or that situation has on you. But it's also a transactional thing that needs to happen for the healing process to happen. If I break up with a narcissist, do I need to file for custody? If I have a child and don't want child support from him, there's a lot of different pieces with that. Is he on the birth certificate? Like, do you need to have custody with, like what's that actually look like? But the biggest piece is like you want to be able to make sure that you have the biggest influence on the kids, or that you have the kids as much as you can. If a narcissist was physically abusing me, is there a high chance that you would be the same with the children? 100%. My narcissist's stepmom refused to help for 10 hours after appendix rupture, died multiple times, 3 days coma. She said it was her choice if I lived or died. Would you have done the same? No, I wouldn't. Do we lack self-respect? If a person doesn't hold boundaries, yes, they lack self-respect. Do you ever sleep? Yes, I do. This channel has helped me a lot. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm an adult child. How do I tell my parent to stop talking about my parent to me? They're in the middle of a separation. That's called a healthy boundaries. Be like, hey, I understand you're going through everything. I'm just not the right person to talk to right now. I'm dealing with my own stuff. How do you reclaim your confidence when you still live with narcissists and can't move out because of anxiety? Your confidence is built with repetition. It's built with what you do. So like you probably have a high level of confidence in tying your shoe. Why? Because you've done it thousands of times and you know how to do it. So it's easy to do. So you have confidence that you can do it. You might not have confidence to teach someone how to tie their shoe because you haven't taught someone how to tie their shoe 1,000 times, right? Confidence comes from repetition. So like we teach inside of what we do, the way to build confidence is by daily repetition in 4 different areas: body, being, balance, and business. You can actually learn about this. I actually have a small challenge that is a confidence builder and a focus on you, which is at rawmotivations.com/core. CORE. You can actually learn a little bit about that there. But it's a quick and easy challenge that we have that's actually helping build up confidence. People that have taken that and actually jumped in and done the work have built up their confidence relatively quickly. It's been really cool to see. Who, according to you, is the best narcissist in history? I have no clue. Off the top of my head, I'd probably say Hitler because he was so good at his lies that he believed them. You don't even seem like a narcissist. A lot of narcissists don't. I don't now. I've also done a lot of work over the past 5 years. How should you speak to a narcissist about whether they are being faithful? Try to find facts, like honesty. Like you have to deal with it very factual. You can't deal with like all emotional. Halfway through 34 years, they got on drugs. Do you know the way behavior started after the drug use? This person is evil now. I think it's a spiritual attack. Could be a spiritual attack for sure. Could be a piece of the drugs just lowered the mask enough for you to actually see what was underneath. Do ADHD have a lot of narcissism characteristics? No. Sometimes people with ADHD come across as uncaring because they're so distracted, because they don't really know or understand, or they can't remember things, right? They're like, it's almost like future faking, but it's not, because it's actually like they forgot or they got distracted. Sometimes we'll have people that will get like misdiagnosed. That's also different therapists and some issues that are there. Why the hell did I have kids with this demon? I feel so sorry for my children. So work on healing yourself. Because right now, if you focus on the kids and like feeling sorry for them and like getting upset about them, you won't actually focus on you. If you focus on you, then a lot of times you're able to start holding emotional space and helping your kids heal. Are narcissists gay or bi? What made you change? Was it because I was gay or bi? Because I'm definitely not. How do you internalize the narcissist's constant attacks on your character? Start building up your character for you. Like you're looking at everything that's happening externally and trying to be like, how do I defend externally? Defending externally is a lot easier when the internal is built up. Co-parenting is tough. After 2 years, we get along better, but that can flip on a dime, 100%. There's a lot of different, we have a couple different longer videos that deal with co-parenting, parallel parenting, the BIF method. All those are essential inside of that. He's in anger management, but texts my family and members he did nothing wrong, that he walked away in the argument. We both know that's not what happened. I lost hope. Counseling will help him. Yeah, like, teammate, you got to focus on you. Like, would love to help you inside the healing process. You can go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough, and you can see how I walk women through a healing journey and a growth mindset shift. Because if we don't help you break the trauma bond and move forward in the healing process, oftentimes you'll leave people stuck. Why does a narcissist have an obsession with my child when he can't speak or see him yet, but he's around him, does not act interested in him? It might just be for show. It might just be to make him feel better. But then when he's there, like, he's not actually interested. Like, I've seen different family members do this where they like show up when other people are around, and as soon as other people are around, they disappear, right? Because they're like faking it in different aspects. How do I get over his lies and deceptions during death? Also sexual attraction during a funeral while my loved one in her coffin. So it sounds like different levels of like different pieces of a trauma bond tied to it. Autism can be confused for narcissistic behavior, 100%. Are you a Christian? If so, did that help you become more humble to heal? I'm a Christian. I would say like my awareness, my understanding of it wasn't that I was a Christian and that helped me heal, but more or less inside the healing process was when I actually became a Christian. I would say I knew God before because I was brought up in the church. I knew all the words, knew all the things. I had a conformity, but not a connection. That was different. A good friend is dating a narcissist. It's better to distance yourself and try to tell them. You could always try to tell them. You could always send them information. You could always send them content, help wake them up. But you might have to distance yourself if they're not willing to actually like work on this. Are you covering up and wearing a mask right now? No. But like the way that you worded the question, then it's like, oh, well, of course, a narcissist having a mask is always going to say no. Like, there's no good answer to that people online are just going to magically believe. But you can keep watching content and you keep listening to podcasts and stuff like that and just see, I'm really transparent with everything I say because I don't have anything to hide. Everything I have is out there on social media. Everything I have is out there that I've communicated inside of different podcasts. Why? Because my whole philosophy early on, before Raw Motivations turned into a calling, turned into a business, turned into a movement, like before I started any of that, I started just posting, just saying the truth. Because it was like, if I burn the ships, it's going to be a lot harder to go back. What made you realize you were narcissistic? It's a lot of different things. I'm not going to dive into the whole story because we're wrapping up here, but you can listen to the whole story called My Origin Story on my podcast, Real and Raw with Ben Taylor. Would you agree that most narcissists are demons? No, I wouldn't. I think most narcissists are immature assholes. I would think most narcissists are also entitled, living high off ego, and are just fulfilling out their carnal desires to the fullest. Are you aware of any studies of psilocybin and NPD? Do you think it could rewire NPD pathways in the brain? I think it could rewire, but I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done first. I don't think sending. I have heard and I've seen different things of narcissists going to using like ayahuasca and stuff like that, and it not helping and it actually being worse, right? Because inside of that, if they're not actually getting honest and dealing with themselves, like it's just going to screw them up even more. Do you think BPD is often confused with NPD? If so, what are some noticeable differences between the two? BPD is oftentimes more in women than it is in men. NPD is oftentimes in men more than it is in women. Probably the biggest difference that I would say is like BPD typically will have either self-harm or will have some aspect of threats of self-harm, of like threats of suicide or suicidal ideation or tendencies. Narcissism doesn't have that inside of it, or at least not as much, and it's not as prevalent. BPD a lot of times can be more emotional in the aspect of like they connect more emotionally with other people, and oftentimes will use that in a manipulative way. Can a narcissistic wife help me be a better man? Can an abuser help you be a better person? No. What is your wife's podcast so I can learn more? Our podcast is called Trauma, Drama, and Life. That's the two of them. What kind of counseling helped you? I've done a bunch of different ones. I've done EMDR. I've done CBT, DBT, IFS, Splunkna. I've done a lot of different types of counseling, energy work, spiritual healing, a lot of different pieces. Some people should people have empathy for a narcissist? Don't they just have a condition also? No, they shouldn't have empathy for a narcissist. Like here's the thing: the problem, the reason why most people are stuck with a narcissist is because they have empathy for them and they're blinded by hope and potential, and they're not looking at the facts. So like, I'm not gonna come on here and be like, you should have empathy for a narcissist or you should feel sorry for a narcissist, because honestly, I don't think the majority of people should. There's already enough of that's there, which have people stuck already. So like, if you want to have empathy, you can have empathy, but you also need to have boundaries. Like, you can have empathy, but it doesn't need to be, you need to be with them. You can have empathy, it doesn't mean you need to let them abuse you. You can have empathy, it doesn't mean it's your job to fix them, right? That's where it gets like, where it crosses a line really, really quick. So I would err on the side of being like, no, don't have empathy for a person who's manipulated, abused, lied, and cheated on you. Have empathy for yourself and learn to actually heal. If someone is very ill, physical illness, almost bedridden, and weak to leave, is there any advice? Get her to survive this and too weak to leave. Are you talking like someone who's been abused and they're trying to like work through it? I'm not sure. Do you think BPD is the female version of NPD with a decent dose of all hormones thrown into the mix? No, not necessarily, but I mean that's a decent way to phrase it. I heard someone say one time, which I thought was kind of funny from my perspective, of like BPD was like a failed narcissist. It's not accurate, but I thought it was funny in the moment. Someone might not, but it's okay. Someone with NPD I knew did take ayahuasca and they saw nothing. It was almost like he couldn't be by himself during the healing. Nothing changed. Yeah, I've seen that. And I've seen people have like different like psychotic breaks doing that too. How to tell if you're a narcissist: 9 diagnostic traits. You have to have at least 5 to be diagnosed. Do you make friends? I have some. The majority of friends that I have, close friends that I have, are guys that are willing to call me out. They're willing to be very, very honest. Is BPD like NPD with higher neuroticism? No, like there's like 9 traits for BPD as well. So I don't think I have a whole lot of videos on that. I don't have a whole lot of videos on that. I might only have like 1, maybe 2. I never really made a whole lot of videos because every time I make videos on BPD, like everybody with BPD comes out and they're like, that's not who I am. And I'm like, I did a video one time about BPD. I literally went through the DSM-5. Like I literally just like read through it and talked about it. And I had so much hate jump on that one video. This is like years ago. I had so much hate like jump on. Everybody be like, that's not who I am. And I'm like, I literally just read the DSM-5. So it was really interesting. How can I tell them to get help or I'm leaving? One, you could say, you're not honest with yourself. You're not honest with me. And I think you should go get help. And then you leave. Are female narcissists worse? Yeah, they could be. Have you apologized to those you hurt, and how? To the majority of the ones that I could. Some of them are no contact, and I'm not breaking that to go through that process. I have a lot of people in my life that are narcissistic, and I have no clue how to deal with them. Can you give me advice on how to deal with it? So if you have a lot of people in your life that are narcissistic, you have to make sure that you set healthy boundaries for you and you start living the life that you actually want to live and not bend to them. Have you heard of dark empaths? Does it mean that narc can benefit us to co-parent, or is it useless? I don't dive into the whole dark empath, super empath. Honestly, I think it's a waste of time, and I think it's a waste of people diving way too deep than what's needed inside the healing process and focusing on it. Are there primary and secondary traits in the 9? No. Like there might be different ones that are more prevalent than others, but no, there's not necessarily primary and secondary. Do you ever feel guilt or remorse as narcissists? All narcissists feel guilt. Typically, they box up and do not feel remorse. Guilt oftentimes is really quick because guilt is I did something bad that leads very quickly to shame, which is I am bad. Narcissists don't want to feel that, don't want to see that, don't want to experience that, so they push it away as quick as possible. All right. I need to wrap up. It's getting late. I need to get to bed. Early morning comes tomorrow. If anything inside this live has resonated with you and it's your situation, it's where you're at, then please reach out. You can go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. Just, if you have a moment, watch the video that's there to be able to understand the healing journey and the growth mindset that we walk through. Because if we don't walk you through a process to heal first, you might jump into something that you're not even ready for because you haven't healed, you haven't processed, you haven't worked through it. We focus on helping you actually set the broken leg. Then from there, we can start actually building the muscle after it's set, like after it's healed. So inside of all this, if you're dealing with a toxic relationship, abuse, manipulation, you're confused, you're wondering, how do I get clarity? How do I figure out how to move forward with confidence and with certainty? Then please reach out. Go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough. Watch a quick video, fill out a quick application so I know a little bit about you, where you're at, what's going on, how it's affecting you, and then let's book a free call. We can sit down, we can talk, we can figure out where you're at, what's going on, and how to help you move forward step by step. So that's here. If this resonates, if you've connected to what I've said so far, if you've connected with the answers, you've connected with just me describing like some of your world, maybe sometimes better than what you feel like you can describe it, because you're like, whoa, I didn't realize he was thinking this or this was happening. Go to rawmotivations.com/breakthrough and fill out a quick application. Let's have a call. Sit down and actually build out a plan for your healing step by step. But for now, I'm heading to bed. Y'all have a blessed and wonderful night, and we'll see y'all.